The ANC is seeking an audience with former President Thabo Mbeki following his letter sounding the alarm on the Phala Phala matter and the party's handling of this issue. In his letter, the former president addressed the Deputy President Mbeki, saying he was disturbed. In fact, the current Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, saying he was very disturbed by the votes cast in the National Assembly on the panel report into the matter. And of course, this is the Phala Phala matter and the motion of, when it comes to the Eskom matter that we also saw playing out in Parliament. And these, of course, are some of the issues that he is raising in this particular letter. There's more, of course, and let's explore this further now with a political analyst from the University of the Western Cape, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu. Prof, thank you so much for your time. Your impressions of the letter?
And Officer Falsis, I'm no longer at the University of the Western Cape. I'm at Nelson Mandela University.
Okay, apologies for that. We'll note it.
Yeah. No, the letter by former President Mbeki is in fact long overdue. There have been a number of processes that have happened which don't paint the ANC in a good light. And some of us have been making comments about this, saying that on the Phala Phala matter, for example, there was no reason why Parliament halted the process of investigating the matter. Because the reality is that if you don't know what is happening, then you should allow the process to unfold. And then after that, you make a determination as to whether you were right or wrong. But to stop the process is not something that some of us would recommend.
And, he also raises concerns in his letter about how the party handled the parliamentary panel report onto the Phala Phala matter, the Eskom matter, and the relationship between what he calls the ANC and the masses. The handling of these issues by Parliament was always going to be under scrutiny, especially when you look at what was said about Parliament in the State Capture Commission's report.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the points he makes is a comparison between the Nkandla matter and then the Phala Phala matter. So if parliamentarians are learning from the past, they should have known that after the Nkandla matter, there were a number of mistakes that were identified by the legal system. And then, of course, there were suggestions made as to how this issue should have been handled. And it's very surprising that we find ourselves in the same situation, repeating the same mistake once again. So it's in that context that former President Thabo Mbeki is raising a concern, which in my view is a genuine concern. Because one would have expected that you don't just protect the president just because he is the president. You have to look at the substance of the matter and then look at the potential impact on the party and on the country. In this case, you have referenced in the 2021 local government election where people said we still love the ANC, but we are disappointed and therefore are going to withhold our vote. We are not going to vote. And you repeat the same mistake on the eve of the 2024 general election. What are you expecting?
And I suppose they also have to, really ask themselves some tough questions here. And I'd like to borrow from this particular letter. However, we voted to stop the formation of the MPC with a mandate indicated above. And this is around the parliamentary processes. And he says why. I would presume that as ANC members, we would assume that our president would not do and has not done anything impeachable. The puzzle is, why then did we stop an MPC being formed? We would be convinced, exactly to establish this, that our president has not done anything impeachable. And I suppose it's always been the question as to why not allow this committee to sit in order to either vindicate or dig deeper into what happened here. And this is what he's raising.
Some of us have been vindicated by former President Thabo Mbeki's letter. Because we made similar comments earlier saying that if the president has nothing to hide, why halt the process? If parliamentarians are serious about protecting the integrity of the president, why halt the process? If I have nothing to hide, then of course I'll say anyone who wants to conduct an investigation is welcome. Go ahead and do it because there is nothing that we're going to find. The moment I halt the investigation means that there is something that I know which I don't want to come to the public, which is a similar point we can make about the Director matter. There have been accusations leveled against the Director that he did not say things while he was in office. Then when he's on the exit door, only then does he start talking. But the reality of the matter is he has been talking, it's just that it was not listened to. And then if on that one too, you don't have anything to hide, why do you hold a process of conducting an investigation to establish what really went wrong so that everybody then will be clear if you are right or if you are wrong?
And the ANC seeking an audience with the former president, how should they handle this particular matter?
It's too late. They should have thought about this thing before they voted in the manner they did in Parliament. Of course, they can still have a one-on-one discussion with the former President Thabo Mbeki, but I don't think he's going to change his mind because it was not a mistake that he wrote this letter.
And Prof, just before we wrap up very briefly, the Ekurhuleni Mayor, Tanya Campbell, has now been ousted. I suppose one cannot say we did not see this one coming. There have been so many attempts to finally sit for this particular process. Prof Mngomezulu? I think his line just unfortunately let us down there as we're trying to talk about this particular breaking story. You can see it on the bottom of your screen there. Tanya Campbell ousted as Ekurhuleni Mayor. And of course, this has been, one of these stories that has been bubbling under quite some time. We'll continue to bring you more on it during the course of the evening. And that was Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, a political analyst from the Nelson Mandela University.